There are close to 400,000 children in foster care throughout the U.S. This is according to childwelfare.gov. Data shows mental and behavioral health is the largest unmet health need for these children and teens. Because of the trauma these kids face, many who graduate out of the system experience PTSD nearly 5 times higher than the general adult population. So you might be asking yourself, what can you do to help out these children? There are many ways we can chip in. Dawana Jernigan, President and CEO of Arms Wide, is here this morning to continue this conversation. Also here, Crystal, a foster parent in the Houston area. I just want to make sure it's Arms Wide.
Arms Wide.
Arms Wide. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
I wasn't
yes.
sure if open was missing or not,
No,
so I wanted to make sure
just Arms
we
Wide.
get that. Thank you both for coming in and chatting with us. You know, this is something that impacts nearly 400,000 children, and this is a big deal. What is it? What is the issue here in Houston? What does that look like? Give us the local landscape of that here for Houston.
For Houston?
Yeah.
So in Houston, we have a number of children, 5,000 children that are in the system who need permanent or temporary foster homes. At Arms Wide, we work with the Department of Family and Protective Services to recruit, to vet, to train foster families so that when there's a need, we can step in and make sure that these children who have been separated from their biological families have a bridge to permanency, right? So that could mean this foster parent is working with the department to help the child be reunited with their biological families, be adopted, or whatever that permanency plan might be for the child.
Dawana, how do children enter this system?
So children enter foster care because there has been some report that's been made regarding abuse or neglect, right? And a judge determines that it's not safe for them to be in their home. So at some point when that determination is made, the child will be removed by court order and placed into a foster home. So there has to be some abuse or neglect that causes that child not to be safe with their biological family.
And that trauma, as we know, can be profound.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Crystal, you are a foster parent.
Yes, sir.
What compelled you to become a foster parent?
Well, it honestly initially started with we wanted a large family. And so I was like, we need to help, there's such a need out there. So we signed up with Arms Wide 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yes.
15
and
years.
We've had the pleasure of working with them to foster children, and then that's turned into multiple adoptions. So now I have a whole lot of kids.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yes, sir.
The bigger the better though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, it's awesome.
That's, at the start of this conversation, we said, there are so many ways people can get involved, and this was something that you wanted to do. For people watching and really pondering this type of opportunity, was the process to become a foster parent? What was that process like?
It honestly wasn't as hard as having a natural child,
Right.
because we were licensed within 6 to 8 months. We had a placement. Wow. And I always joked that it's less time than having a baby. So and anyway, but there's such a range from infancy to teenagers that need a home. And even if it's temporary or permanent, we've opened our home for that, and we've had 14 total children in our home that were from or through the agency, and we've helped, and some have gone home, some have been adopted by us, and some have we've just been a temporary moment. So
from the moment I met you at the lobby, I knew you were someone extremely special,
Oh,
and I know
thank you.
those children are really fortunate to have
Thank you.
a foster mom.
well,
like you.
thank you. People always say, "Oh, you're so awesome for saving them," and I always say they saved us.
saved us,
Like
yeah,
it's really a beautiful thing.
Dawana, I know Arms Wide recently started a new initiative
Yes.
called It Takes a Village.
Yes.
I know for decades we've always said, it takes a village to raise a child. What does this initiative look like?
So in the Houston area, there's an issue of what's called disproportionality. There's a disproportionate a number of black children who are in foster care. And so recognizing that there was a need and that these children need permanency, they need foster families, they need to be adopted, we developed a program called It Takes a Village. And what that program does is we reach out to recruit families that are interested in parenting black children and kinship caregivers. Oftentimes when children come into foster care, they are, we can find relatives that they can be joined with rather than them having to live in unfamiliar situations. And so we work with those relatives. It could be grandma, it could be a godparent.
To have someone familiar.
To have someone familiar to sort of minimize the trauma that they experience from the separation from their family.
This whole process can be scary, especially if you take into consideration the age of the child. That experience could be different for each child. Is there a common theme of something that can be done to minimize the scariness, to minimize the struggles?
I feel that if there is an opportunity for kinship placement, it's very important. We've had that happen with us where we got surprise calls that we had, a sibling out there, and so we would say, okay, sure. And then, Arms Wide had to work with us to get re-licensed because we had closed our home, and then here comes a sibling. So we've taken that on, and it's been great. We've watched children thrive. I mean, I don't want to say too much about, some privacy things, but we've had a placement that they had been moved multiple times because they were not doing well, and the foster parents would be like, it's just difficult, this child is difficult, and then you put them with siblings and we watch them thrive and grow and blossom, and I'm like, if people think a sibling placement is not important, they're wrong. So if it's possible to do kinship, I think it's so important.
We are all special in our own ways, right? And it's remarkable to see special actions be done for children who might need those special needs. Is there something that you recall doing throughout these 15 years of being a foster mom that has really, really worked time after time?
Well, saying yes. We just keep saying yes. I think it's important to be open-minded because even with, if you say no or I can't do this, it's too many, then you lose out, and so does the child. So I'm glad we've said yes so many times because every time they've left a footprint on our hearts.
Absolutely. So. DeWanna, for people watching right now, listening, who might want to get involved, but they might not be ready to become a foster parent, are there other ways they can help out, get involved?
Absolutely. They're volunteering, right? We always need volunteers, people who are willing and able to volunteer their time, to be chaperones at support groups, when we have events for families, or if they just want to come around the office and get familiar with us and how we do the work. They just contact armswide.org and we can put them in touch with someone who can help them figure out what path they need to go along in order to become more familiar with the system and figure out where they can play a part.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you both for coming in this morning. DeWanna, I appreciate it. Crystal, thank you.